Okay, I'm going to show you how I put the head on, or I put the head together. And you can see here, I posted some photos. You can see what this looked like prior to me nipping off this one little piece and adding the glue on. This is just me being me. I don't want things to move around because I keep talking about how felt moves around, and this is one of those instances. I don't want anything to shift here because there's going to be a lot of pushing and pulling on this. And this is the 100% wool, and this is not. This is a wool acrylic blend. So I start with one side, and this is basically just a piece that is, it's the same on both sides. And I'm going to start here. I always start at the nose for the opening and closing. And I just line up the two little round parts. And I'm going to start, I always come through the felt, through the middle part of the felt, and then get my first stitch in there. And what I'm going to do now is just go completely, and this is what I would call a straightaway. I can just stitch around this, and you can see I like this better because I can get my normal hand position for my left hand in there. Now I'm making sure, because this is a wool acrylic and I know that I'm going to be stuffing the bejesus out of this, that I'm making sure that my stitches are far enough in so that when I do stuff it, it's not going to pull away. And remember, if it does pull away, that's when I have all my miraculous little patches that I'm going to add in. And I'm going to keep adding. Now, here's the thing. When I'm working, even though I may not realize it, when I'm working and holding it this way, I am pulling at the fibers just a little bit. So this piece is going to ends up always being a little bit longer. And for me, I'd rather have too much that I need to kind of do some trim work on than not enough, because that would just absolutely kills me. I hate that. So for this piece, because it's just a simple curve, I can go around and continue. You can see how I'm making it into a little kind of a little sandwich, I guess. And when I'm doing this, I'm pulling on the felt. So it is, even though it's infinitesimally pulling on it, I am pulling on it. So I'm going to go all the way around to the end, and then I'll show you what I do on this other side. Okay, now you can see here that I've got, I'm almost here to the end. And one of the things I do, especially when it's something that I'm going to stuff, I want to kind of relax part of this. I don't like ridges showing along the seamed edges. So I'll go through and I'll pop it inside out and then pop it back. So now you can see it's much more rounded on this side now. And you can see I'm coming up here and it's like, whoa, I got a lot there. So what I'm going to do is, again, I just kind of eyeball this. I'm going to nip off about that much. And now I'm going to lay this back down, and I'm going to add in the final stitches that will get me all the way around, because I want to come up to that stitch there. So I'm having to relax my rule about how I'm holding these together. Okay, now to make this fit under this, you can see, well, that's way too big. So what I do is I hold it up, and again, I do a lot of eyeballing. I'm going to nip that off that way, and then stick it behind and see if I can get it to lay flat. Okay, that's good. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in this last stitch, and then pull it off. I'm going to give it a knot because I really don't want that to show. Now you're looking at this and going, this looks horrible. Well, yeah, it does. That's because I haven't trimmed it yet. Okay. And I know that there's part of me that's like, I should really, make this pattern piece better. But I don't know what kind of felt I'm going to be making things out of. I need the extra bit just in case. If this were 100%, if this piece were 100% felt or 100% wool, I'd have an even longer piece because the wool felt doesn't stretch as much. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back on here and I'm going to nip this a little bit so it's more of a, can you see that right there? More of a little pointy bit. And then I tuck it back in. Occasionally I'll add a little glue if I feel like the piece is being a bit unwieldy. But what I'm going to do now is just come in and then drop a couple of just straight stitches. Because, and this is the part that kind of looks wonky, just coming right back up through. This won't show very much either because this particular thread is almost the same hue, and I'm having to stop and look because sometimes you nick things on the inside with your needle. You'll come in contact with some felt. So I think 2 stitches ought to do it because I'm going to tuck that back in. And remember, this is all going to be hidden by the nose, because if we look over here, we're not going to see any of that. The nose is going to cover all of that up. And matching this piece going around, because I have this point as an anchor, I basically just take this, put it down, and here is where I will use some pins. Oh, sorry, I'm not even in focus. Here is where I will use some pins coming around. This part always looks a bit wonky when I start adding it on because it just looks wonky. There's just no way of getting around it. Oops, wrong. Went right back through that hole. Do not want to do that. And since this is being a little unwieldy, this little piece right here, I am going to use a little tack, and I'm going to tack it down inside of there. And then I'm going to start sewing on the other side of the head. And as I'm working, one of the things that I do is I stop and I'll look to make sure that the eyes are matching up. They're not going to be perfectly matched, but they're going to be close enough that you really won't be able to see the difference. So that's what I'm going to do now.